everybody? It's Ryan. Welcome to another live episode of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show, and thank you all so much for sticking with me this week. I know last week was a little rough. I apologize for that. We weren't able to have the show. But this week, we've got everything up and running good. I'm playing with some new technology. We're bringing the show up in the world here, and I am so excited that everybody's coming back for this week's show. So, real quick, huge shout out to all the sponsors that remotely make this show possible. We have BAMF Cigars, ROCF Cigars. We have Micallef Cigars, Sagrado Cigars, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, Kristoff Cigars, Big Sky, Cornell and Diehl Pipe Tobacco, Cigar Clowns, and Abe DeBabna, the big man himself over at Smoke in Cigars. In fact, this is the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show at the Smokin' Studio. See, guys, I am off for a week, and like literally and I'm completely thrown off my game. I usually screw up every intro to begin with, but this time I'm pretty well thrown off. So, no additional show maintenance this week, but I'm really testing out this new platform, everybody. So please, if there's any issues that you see or concerns, can't hear me, can't hear the guest, please let me know. I'm really hoping this platform is going to be work out well. You'll notice it's got the scrolling ticker. I'm no longer hitting buttons. I can concentrate more. So as nobody comes here to see me, we're going to go ahead and bring in the star of tonight's show. How you doing, Ken? Everything's going well. Looks like your internet's a little on the blurry side, but I'm sure it'll catch up here in a second. So, I tell you what, Ken, go ahead, take the opportunity, introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are, how to find you, and how to find your cigars, and we'll dive right in.
My name is Ken Doerrbecker. I'm the owner of the Chief Cigars, and I'm a firefighter. And you can follow us two different ways on our website, kcigars.com. You can go to boutique.com.
Awesome. Ken, you are breaking up just a little bit here. No worries. We'll kind of, hopefully, your internet will catch itself. You were working perfectly fine. That's usually the way it happens. Perfectly fine backstage. He's coming back in. There you go. Oh, hold on.
Any better?
As long as we can hear you, I don't mind so much for the picture. Oh, here we go. Hold on. He's bouncing out. There we go. That seems to be coming in a little bit better.
All right, we'll go right up to the router. How's that?
That works.
All right. Is that better?
Yep, that is much better.
That should bring us right up to the router.
That's much better. So Ken, give us a little bit of a breakdown of, real quick, if you could just restate who you are, where to find you, how to find your cigars, and we'll dive right in.
Absolutely. Ken Doerrbecker. I am the owner of the Chief Cigars. We manufacture right now out of La Aurora. We're pretty blessed to have such a great factory. I'm in Long Island, New York. I am a volunteer firefighter with the Franklin Square Fire Department for 36 years now. So it's been a while. I started in 2016 with the Chief Cigar, originally blended by Rocky Patel, which was our first Habano Maduro. And then we moved over to Gabby Caffey, and now we're with La Aurora.
Awesome. So it's been a little bit of an adventure for you. You started in what year again?
2016.
2016. Awesome. Well, I tell you what, before we get too buried into this, and I get too buried into this absolutely exquisite cigar here, I'm going to go ahead and give Ken the floor here to introduce the What Are You Smoking Tonight segment, sponsored by Dunbarton Tobacco Trust. Hopefully, everybody caught that little twill thing there in the beginning. That was a nice little addition. But so, Ken, please explain to everybody what it is that I'm smoking and kind of
Okay.
walk us through this.
Yeah, sure. So that was our first blend called the Chief. That's our Habano Maduro. All right. I originally started that blend with Rocky Patel. We had great success with it, did a big release with it. Nish was down. Nimish was actually down for our I guess you could say release party, and down here in Long Island, New York, and that has a Nicaraguan and Honduran fillers with a Nicaraguan binder with a Habano Maduro wrapper. Now that we blend it with La Aurora, that actually has 4-year aged tobacco inside of it. It's probably, I'm not going to say it's hard because I enjoy all three of my cigars, but that's like my still go to. My original, sometimes I look back and I still actually have cigars from Rocky, and I have cigars still here from Gabby, um, when he was blended for me too. So that smoke sells well.
So you're a firefighter chief. Obviously, you're a busy man. You're probably a very locally driven, heavily active in the community. why why start a cigar company? Like, why not just go to the shop and buy a few boxes? I guarantee if you would have probably called Rocky, he'd have sent your shop, your firehouse, probably a year's supply. Like, why
Yeah.
go through all this problem and hassle?
So I used to hang out in a local cigar shop right here on Long Island at Maxie's. Rocky was a big supporter of the shop, with the owner Jack. And I just happened to one day, kind of, when you're smoking cigars, and back then, would probably have 3, 4 sticks a day. Um, I happened to say to the rep Allison at the time that was with Rocky that I wanted to blend my own cigar, and kind of like, yeah, you and everybody. I said, no, we're like, I even know my blend that I want. And she said, well, let's, you guys, we're going on a safari down to the actually Rocky's factory. So let's see what you got. So we did. We went through about 8 months worth of, you know, different stuff, different blends, tweaking things and stuff like that. And I came up with a cigar. Then it was the name. You're always trying to think of, what am I going to call this? Uh, Translate it into Spanish. What sounds good? What could it be? And a very dear friend of ours that passed away, Mark Weinberg, had said, call it the Chief. And I was kind of hesitant. I was like, oh, the
Oh, we lost him for a quick second here. We'll go ahead and get him back on. Let him rejoin the show. Hold on, 1 sec, Ed. All right, here we go. Go ahead.
okay. So everybody's calling you Chief. So that's what we did. We called it the Chief. And then we had the Habano Maduro. We did a release party. My first order was only 100 boxes. So I said, okay. Um, we sold out that night at the release party. So I was like, wow, I could get, pretty good. And they turned to me and they said, really? You're not that, disrespectfully, that you're nobody in the industry so far, but look at the following you have. You sold 100 boxes in one night. Look at everybody here, you know? And I said, yeah, I guess so. And from there, we did that for about 2 years with Rocky. And then I moved on to Gabby Caffey at his factory when he had it. And with Gabby, we blended the next stick, which was called the All Hands, which is a Mexican San Andreas box press. and called it All Hands because it was a little stronger, had Lajero in it. The Mexican San Andreas wrapper in the firehouse, All Hands, means everybody. And I figured, being that it was a little fuller stick, All Hands was a good idea. And then from there, we worked. A lot of my buddies are like, I love your sticks. I'm a light smoker. And I was always like, oh, Connecticut, what are you going to do with a Connecticut? So we came up with a beautiful Ecuador Connecticut. Um, that has a Criollo 98 binder in it, Nicaraguan and Honduran fillers. And then it was, okay, so now we got the Connecticut. What do we call that? So it was a lighter smoke, maybe, more to the newer cigar smoker or somebody's, palate's lighter. So I said, hey, the new guy in the firehouse is called the Proby. So that's how we came up with the Connecticut, the Proby, which I believe you might have had the other day.
It was very, very good.
Yeah.
That was a very good cigar. Great way to start the morning.
Yeah, it is. That's like a lot of my posts or my Instagram, it's 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock when I get at work. And that's usually my morning startup. But a lot of, no, go
I,
ahead.
I want to kind of dive into a little bit of your past here. When did your love for cigars start? How? And do you remember your first cigar? Even if it was a gas station, throw it at us.
Yep. So my father-in-law was always into Jack Daniels. So we were sitting one night and had a cigar. So my first cigar was a Diamond Crown. Loved it, enjoyed it. I sat back, picked one up at the local shop. Maxie's over there, and sat down with a Jack. We both sat. We had a cigar, and then I was kind of like, this is enjoyable. It's relaxing. It calms you down, especially after a day of work. So I was a big Diamond Crown guy in the beginning, and then from there, started smoking a lot of The Edge by Rocky. And like I said, Rocky was big in that shop, did the Christmas parties for us, the golf outings with Nish, stuff like that. And I was big into The Edge with Rocky.
That
And
was
then,
back when Rocky did all of these events too. Like
yeah,
he's like really up there now. So Nish and Nimish do most of them, but yeah,
yeah,
that was when Rocky was going. What is that? 300 days a year, he said, or something like that.
yeah. He's a crazy man. And he still does most of the events there. Nish has been there. Nimish has been there. You know, Hamlet was there at the time when Hamlet was
Yep,
around with them.
yep.
You know, so it was great. And then I noticed, you go from that one cigar every day and a half to two. Now, especially being that I have my own, blend, I'm anywhere between 6 and 8 sticks a day.
Yeah.
My job where I work, the people in the village actually know me as the cigar guy. They don't even know my name, the cigar guy. The mayor refers to me as the cigar guy. You know.
So so do you have a picture of yourself in full gear with your cigar in your mouth, ready to go?
Yeah, there is one out there, and then there's one that we use um on one of the commercials for Great Lake Smoke Show that has me in my gear next to the truck and stuff like that.
So
One of the
how
one of the local photo guys caught me with the cigar in my mouth and the gear when we were doing stuff.
so I gotta ask you, would you ever show I like firefighter, right? These are like the you guys are the guys that literally risk your life. I mean, don't get me wrong, law enforcement risks their life, but when everybody's running the other way, you guys fight that literally fight or flight response, and you guys run the opposite direction that everybody else is. Okay,
Yeah.
people run away from the bear, you guys are going towards it. And would you ever show up with like a cigar in your mouth, all Schwarzenegger style, like hop out? All right, get through the fire. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it happens a lot. Sometimes I'm driving the truck and I got a cigar. Sometimes, uh, we're training new probies coming in. I always have a stick. and a lot of the other guys now do too. It's pretty funny at the firehouse. Like we have a decent group in my firehouse, and they're all cigar smokers.
Nice, nice. So you guys do, what is it? 3 days on, and
So in the
then
volunteer service, you're 24/7, 7 days a week. So when the
oh, that's
pager
right. You
goes,
guys aren't sleeping there at all. That's the paid
right,
ones.
right, yeah. So we have paid medics now because the volunteer service has become so bad that um, we only had two girls left in our EMS company, and we actually have paid medics that do. The most of them are like FDNY medics, and they do per diem shifts in other departments, and that's kind of what we have on the EMS side. But right now we're still volunteer, and it's tough. You know, not a lot of people have the time anymore. State mandates have become so crazy that doing these classes, I'm there 36 years, and I say it all the time. If I had to do probation now, I'd never be able to do it with the state classes that they mandate for you.
Well, don't even get me started on how useless most of the state mandates or
Oh
whatever they
yeah.
want to call them are. Probably one of the I gotta think one of the most frustrating things about being either a chief of police, fire department chief. I don't know what they call a medic chief if there is one that runs the medic department, but is somebody else going, I don't think you really need that. Or don't you think it would be better if you did it this way? Have you ever so how you obviously as a volunteer you probably could be a little less diplomatic because they're kind of in a rock and a hard place. It's unless you're terrible, they can't really get rid of you.
Right.
Um, like what? Talk about some of those times where you have had to like push back and kind of how has that been?
So there's calls where people are like, Get in there. You know, why aren't you in the house yet?" And they don't understand that it takes certain time to size up what's going on in a home, whether it be a residential or commercial building, especially what's inside, where's the fire, how are we attacking it. I mean, when I was younger in the department, we had a house fire where myself and the guy on the nozzle right in front of me, we went into the front door, and you're taught to check, you know, the floor, the structure, and that. We went into the front door, and there was no floor there already, right after the front door. So it was a basement fire that already came through the stair, already came through the first floor. So now, you know, if you would have just why are you in there and you barged through the door, you would have lost two guys right through the basement. So it takes that size up, and you know, there's always that person out there that thinks they know better, and how come you don't? You know, why do you have three fire trucks and then one ladder truck? You know, but people don't realize that every town insurance mandates what you have to have in order to cover that. You know, that area. So it gets a little crazy, and you know, there's the people that no matter what you do, thank you, and there's the people that say, "Do we need that?" You know, which is, yeah, you need it. Yeah, I need. When I first started, it was a jacket, a helmet, and leather boots. Now it's bunker pants and protective helmets, and fires have gotten so much worse because of things that are in the home, in couches and in furniture and in flooring now. And you know, we had a fire one day, a basement fire, and the person actually owned a gunnery, and all of a sudden you heard pop pop in the basement. It was ammo going off in the basement, and you have to back out, and they're going, why aren't you getting in there and saving my house? Well, I'm sorry, you have ammo, you said, in the basement. How many thousands of rounds that are going off? You know, yes, if it ain't in a gun, but it's still going to go a certain amount of, you know, distance
It's gonna
when it goes
leave.
off. So it's for the most part, we really don't have too many of the people that think they know better, but they're out there, unfortunately.
How has, and I asked that question strategically for this question.
Sure.
You have dealt with so much bullshit in a community, not with the community, but with potential leaders of the community. I mean, it's Long Island. You said right?
Yeah.
You it you've got a lot of really smart people on there, but I gotta believe you got a lot of dumb ones too that are potentially running things in government. Because most of the time, people that can't be successful in private are successful in government. it's like it's like why are you a teacher of business? Because those that can't do teach.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's got to have given you the ability to be a businessman because you have to run that firehouse, especially since your budget is hair thin. I mean, I mean, I mean, hair thin. Nickels and pennies matter to you guys.
Yes. Yeah.
So what has that experience given you to be able to then use in your business prowess?
Uh, a lot, really. So you're responsible for a certain budget. You're responsible for me at the time was about 120 guys, men and women, and inventory and how to stretch the dollar and what do we need, what don't we need. We have the fire district to help us um, with certain equipment and all of that. But besides that, you're doing fundraisers and stuff to help out with anything else you might have to take care of. So it gives you that like that little bit of structure of how to like bear down and do things. And then with the cigar industry, it's with inventory and stuff like that. How do I, you know, where are we going? Like the cost of boxes, when you first started the cigars, a box, a cedar box was $3. Now it's like $10. You know, so where can we go? What can we do to make the box better? Can we, you know, improve it? Can we? It's kind of like we would get gloves in the firehouse. This one's better than that one. You know, this one's cheaper than that one, and you kind of learn to like look around, I guess you want to say, and how to put things together a little bit better in the firehouse. You're every day you're constantly who's doing what, who's where, who's on what shift, who's uh, guys showing up for calls, stuff like that. So with the cigars, it's kind of the same. You're learning your inventory and product, and do I have enough? How far will this, you know, batch go? And how many stores can I open or send out to without running out? Because changing factories, you got 6 7 months that you run out of your stick, and you don't want to do that, and then you're back ordered and stuff. So
How has first off, how does one become a chief in a paid firehouse versus a volunteer firehouse? Is the line of succession the same? Is the same process, or is it different
well,
when it's
in the
a paid
volleys,
house?
you have steps from firefighter to lieutenant to captain, same as with the paid with FDNY. With FDNY, it's promotional tests that bring you up the ladder and stuff like that, and years of service. With the volleys, it's were you a captain and a lieutenant of your engine company first or your ladder company, and then you're voted amongst the department. So in my department, you have 100 guys. 100 guys are going to vote who's going to be the next assistant chief. Do you meet all the criteria classes? Have you taken everything? All the new state mandates and stuff like that. Where with the paid guys, it's a promotional test. How well did you do on the test? Where do you sit on the test? And where you go. So they have it a little tougher to make chief than we have it.
I
And
don't
then you
know about
always,
that. I don't know about
yeah,
that.
with us, it's a little bit of a popularity contest too, as well.
But that
How
says a ton, though, right? That's actually, in my opinion, I would rather have that because, and to an extent, because what that tells me is that the chief isn't somebody who the team doesn't look up to. And how many times have you just in your life, in your jobs, or just everybody watching right now had a superior that got a test or promoted there but was just awful at their job and you didn't respect? So it,
yeah,
it definitely has its pros and negatives, but in a volunteer house, I'd rather have the guy that everybody likes being in
yeah.
charge.
You get the popularity, and you get the guy that knows his stuff, you know.
Of
And
course, of
I've seen
course.
it both ways. I've seen the guy that really knows his stuff lose to the guy that was more popular, you know. And then, you know, later on, guys are like, "Oh, what'd we do?" or this or that. But we've been very fortunate. We wind up with some pretty good chiefs, very active. We have two assistants and then the chief of the department, and they move up the ladder as the chief of the department goes out.
What's your
Uh,
term?
6 years, two, and two.
Oh, wow.
To his second assistant, to his first assistant, to his chief of the department.
And then can you keep getting voted in as chief over and over?
Uh, yeah, yeah. Actually, we have our second assistant now had just gotten out as chief of the department and was revoted back in. So there's departments around me that there's been a chief. He's gone back around 4 times. You know, because it also takes who's qualified to do it. Has that person taken all the classes that the state mandates for you to do now? Where when I first got in the department back in 1989, it wasn't as hard. You know, now the state, unfortunately, uh, thinks they're better at everything and mandates a lot of stuff.
Well, they're
So it's, do you
probably
have the time?
yeah, they're probably wrong about that, but we'll let them continue to think that, right?
Yeah.
Uh, as you're going through this, at what point in time? I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but dive a little bit more. At what point in time did you want to start making cigars, other than people go, "Hey, let's call it the chief because you're the chief"? But like, what was that spark? Are you married? Like, did your wife like was it like a huge family discussion? Like, at
No,
what point did you
it
want
was me.
this?
It was just me. I was married at the time when I did it, and it was something I really enjoyed. I loved the events and stuff like that. When I would go to an event and buy cigars, and I do it even still now. I always go to buddies' events, and a lot of my posts. There's the people out there that post only their thing. I post everybody's stuff. I love cigars. I love what everybody does. From my buddies Billy and Gus over at Viva La Vida, I'll pop up at their event. I'll pop up at Kevin from Rockefeller's event. Any of my friends.
Love
If
Kevin.
they're in the area, I go and they're like, "Oh, Chief, what are you doing?" And it's I don't know. It just one day I just said, when she said we can do this, I was like, yeah, I want to do this, And it's the little guy with the small pockets, and Nick Perdomo probably says it the best when he first started. One block at a time,
Hmm.
Uh, if I open one shop this entire month, that's one more shop. If I open two more shops, and now I'm starting to get around more and more, uh, visiting, and then you have to visit back your old shops when it's just you, you know, and that's the tough part. Getting back to everybody, and the last 2 months I was getting a bunch of like checkup stuff done, so I wasn't able to get out a lot. And then people want to do events, and I have a pretty good following. You always have that core group of guys that always follow you to everything. Some of your close buddies, and
Hmm.
we do scotch and cigar nights at hotels. Friends of mine are like, "Can you set up a table for me at an event?" The next one coming up is the Fall Festival for Main Street Cigars. They do that Fall Festival in New Jersey, and it just clicked one day. I just said, when she said we can do this, what do you want to do? I was like, yeah, we'll come up with a name. Let's get the stick going. And then we came up with the chief name, and it just I enjoy being out there with the people.
Was it ever supposed to be more than a hobby that just kind of grew legs and took off?
Yeah,
Or was the
it.
expectations is to always actually put it into a potential national brand standing?
I mean, look, I mean, I think everybody would want to be the Rocky Patel or the Fuente or JC Newman or something like that, and be that big guy. And when you see like Rocky or you see Nick Perdomo, they started small, and they just kept grinding the wheel, just keep going at it, keep doing it, and become that bigger guy. Yeah, you would love to do it. It does take the time where you need to have that. Gabby used to tell me all the time that 100% in, you know, that you got to, all for it. And
Cannonball
I
style.
I get out of work at 2 o'clock, and then from there I try to visit this shop and this shop today, or that shop and that shop today, or send out samples. And I get texts and emails all the time. Hey, Chief, I know you're not in the area, but my local shop, I bought your cigars online from Boutique Smokes, or I got them, when one gentleman had picked them up in Chicago when we were at the pipe show with Ronnie and them. And he's like, can I get them online? So, yeah, sure, you can buy them at boutiquesmokes.com. And he's like, my local shop, would you be able to send samples? Absolutely. Send me the address. I'd love to do it. And this is someone out today to Virginia, you know, which is maybe a 6-hour ride for me. And I remember being in the shop one day, and a gentleman walked in from the Virginia, Maryland area, and Fratello, and he was just going around. He used to tell me Friday night after work when my week was done, I take Saturday and Sunday, go to Pennsylvania, go to Virginia, go to New York, try to hit as many shops, and that's what I'm starting to do now. This coming weekend, we have our cigar show at the Firehouse, but then I'll be in Pennsylvania. There's 3 shops up there that I'm going to hit, and that's you do until we can get that rep or that broker or something like that.
So how many shops are you in currently?
I have 26.
And who's your number one online retailer that people can find you? You just said a name, Boutique
Yeah,
Cigars,
boutiquesmokes.com has them.
boutiquesmokes.com. Okay. They have your full line.
Yeah, he has my full line,
Okay.
and I support the B&Ms. Guys are like, oh, are you going to be in Cigars International or CI? Or I would love to be everywhere, and maybe one day it will be. But I really enjoy supporting that mom and pop shop that sits there and tries to pay the rent every day and stuff like that. And I love popping in all the time. I was in a shop last night and just sitting there, and gentleman came walking in, and the clerk just kind of sits there. I get up, and I'm like, "What can we help you find?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just looking." I said, "Well, what's your palate? You like mild, medium, full?" And they're like, "I like a medium stick." I said, "Okay. Do you ever try a Long Island Born cigar?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, this cigar over here, the Chief, happens to be a Long Island cigar." I said, "He's a Long Island fireman. You might want to try it out. It's really good." Gentleman bought a box press, all hands. Sat down in the lounge, was smoking it. I said, "What do you think?" He goes, "I like it. I'm going to take 4 to go when I leave." I said, "Great." I said, "I'll make sure you tell the owner." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You said he's Long Island?" I said, so then the store clerk goes, "This is him." He goes, "Really?" He goes, I said, "Yeah, I own that brand. I'm the manufacturer." He goes, "Like an everyday guy just sitting here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, everyday guy just sitting here, you know." Maybe one day I'll be the big famous guy, but who knows?
Hey, I
We're
you,
working
you
on it.
you you keep it going. Something tells me you'll be there, brother. Something
Yeah,
tells me you'll be there.
yeah. So we're,
How
we're, we're working on it.
how much of I love this question because I have a couple of businesses. One of those being a charity, a bacon company, this show, and then a full time job and a family. How many people have you loved to prove wrong? And what I mean by that is, I know there were naysayers. Come on, Ken. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really? Really, you fucking cigar company? The quickest way to being a millionaire in the cigar world is to start with two. That's the notion. So, what was that like for you to go through that process? Because obviously you're passionate about this. How did you handle those people that said that? And was there anybody close to you that has since been like, I was wrong. Like this is turning out.
I've been very fortunate. Now, honestly, a lot of my friends were all like, you got the drive to do it, and they're there to help you do it. Maybe I've met honestly one or two people that were like, "You're crazy," you know, it won't last long. Um, I've never run back into one person. The other person does come to my events all the time. And like, I guess, like you said, admitted, bro, I can't believe you did this, you know, you know, 8 years later, you're still doing it. We grow little by little. And the other person I don't see anymore. But maybe it's just because of the people I hang around with. Now, if anybody else that's out there would have, said, he'll never make it, he'll never do it. I don't know. I've never met them, but I'm sure they're there, or just waiting for you to fail or give up, or
So is this a Ken solo venture, or do you have business partners
no, it's just
that
me.
help you? It's just you.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just me.
Well, that explains the shirt. All right. So everybody, he sent me this shirt. This shirt is almost bulletproof. Okay, this thing has to be made by Carhartt or Dickies Workwear. This thing is like really, really nice. And I don't know. Most of the time when I get these shirts, they're super thin. I took this one out of the box. I was like, oh my gosh, this feels like it could be like a Carhartt shirt. I mean, you could tell the that that the quality is not just in the cigars, but it's in what you do as well. It's in, if you're going to put it on, it's going to have my name. It's going to be quality.
Right.
And I assume you know that these are much higher quality clothing than most of the industry gives away.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have like someone that works makes shirts for the shot or for your firehouse that did these for you or something. But yeah,
Actually, it's a
you
buddy from another fire department, a local fire department that does silk screening and stuff like that, and he did them for me. And I said, I want a shirt that's going to last,
well,
And
this
he's
will
like,
last.
he goes, "Don't worry about it, bro. I mean, this shirt's probably 3, 4 years old, easy, and the screening is still perfect. The back logo is still perfect for a Better Leaf Smoker Chief, you know."
Oh yeah, it about stood up in the corner of my room when I took it out of the box. It was ready to go. Well, I love this. I love the fact that you're doing it on your own. Um,
Yeah.
and because that's the ambition, that's that drive. And I don't know what your full time job is, if you're semi retired or what. If you want to share that, are you working full time still?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually a supervisor for a local Department of Public Works. So
Okay,
we're in work every day, 6 to 2.
so
So, and
your day is 6 to 10.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're working
Usually
all
about
night.
4.5 hours of sleep.
Yeah, you're working all night throughout the day. When are you hoping for this to be like a full on support you while you're working
Yeah,
and take you away from work, or are you looking
yeah.
to retire and then kick this thing off really full time?
I would love for this to take me away from the job, and get to that point, and that's when I guess you're 100% committed. And Omar Fratello, I remember him doing that, him leaving NASA and
Yep.
going to the cigars, and I look at him all the time because when I met him for the first time at Maxie's, he came in just with some samples, and I had to look up like this and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And that those kind of guys that uh, I would say maybe in the next year I might be able to get to that point, you know.
Does
And
that
I and
scare
I do
you?
have people that if I ever need it, they'll back me, stuff like that. And I have people that approach me, hey, you're looking for a partner, you know, and that also may elevate you to that next point where you could do stuff like that too, But
Does that scare you at all, thinking about
yeah, of
leaving the
course,
steadiness?
of course, yeah, because now you're like, okay, I have to do a certain amount of this, and that's where that structure comes in. Like we were saying before, that hey, I got to push this many sticks a week. I need a paycheck. I have to be able to pay the rent and this and that. Because if I leave that job, there's no pension. You know, so I didn't get into
Yeah.
cigars like some of my friends did, where okay, they got into the cigars and things are great, but they have a pension behind them. So no matter what, they could be bringing in 150,000 a year on a pension. So if the cigars don't move well, you know, so that's the flip side of the coin to think about.
And how much of how because that's something that if somebody hasn't actually taken that cannonball leap into a company, into starting their own business or anything along those lines, they don't they can't really appreciate what that actual mind process is. And it's a very hard one, because as much of you that wants to go, oh, I want this full time, yes, I just want this full time, it's also, oh my god, nobody's gonna pay me if I don't do this.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
now all you. All your failure, all your success is 100% you.
Right.
How much of that wanes on your thought process, and maybe I'll give it another month, or I'll give it another 3 months, or
Oh, a
you
lot.
know, yeah,
Oh yeah. There's no doubt about it because you see your lifestyle now, you know, and if you're going to cut out that, let's say, $100,000 a year job, is this going to fill it? How hard do I got to push? How much time? My day could be longer, obviously. Shops open at 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, let's say. You have to be to so many a day in an area. And if you're going to travel and try to get into a new area, now you're paying for the hotel, plus the fuel, plus yeah, there's no doubt about it. I thought of it quite a few times.
yeah, because as a business owner, especially in the cigar world, or any product sale, you have to go into that area going, I'm already negative a grand. In order for me to make money, I can't just make $200 and be happy.
Right.
I have to make $1,200 to make
Yeah.
$200. And that's again, for a lot of people, that's a huge stressor that keeps them from going that full time. Now, could you operate the chief cigars the way you want and still keep your job, or you would absolutely have to go full time cigars to be able to do what you want?
I don't know because I've seen people do it both ways. So I could bring in a rep, maybe in another area or so. Obviously, give them their percentage, let them push a new area. If that's strong, take a nice weekend, take a couple of vacation days, go to that area, be there with the rep, go to different shops. Um, so that's something to think about too. And you, then you're also responsible for that person because they're your rep now. And then you got to have the inventory behind you because if he's going to start pushing and maybe open you 15, 20 new shops, you know, you have
You
to
got
have
to
all of that
support
money
that.
tied up. Yeah, you have to have that money tied up as well. So it's a lot. You're constantly sitting here and you got a whole desk full of papers, and you're jotting stuff down and you're looking at numbers and you're going, you know,
And let's be honest, those that have watched this show, we've talked about this numerous times. More often than not, you're looking at money leaving than you are coming in until said cigar is complete that you could sell.
sure,
That's what a
you
lot
know,
of people also that don't look at this is, I can't make a cigar tomorrow and put it on the shelf on Monday.
right.
It's got to sit 6 months. You could have 10 grand, 5 grand, 8 grand, 20 grand over
Yeah, sure.
wrapped up
Yep.
for 6 months before you can ever even make a dime off of it. You got to be able to float that.
We had 40 grand wrapped up, and it was 8 months before cigars came. So it's crazy. And then if you want to add a new blend, now you're paying for the new blend and then you're doing samples and it adds up. It's crazy.
So what are the
Some
what are oh go ahead.
Sometimes I say to myself, what did I do? I could have just been sitting back, you know,
I could have been
going
on a
going to the
beach.
local cigar store and learning about nothing.
I could have been on a beach.
Yeah, yeah.
um so since you've started the business, you said 2016, right?
Hmm.
Since you started the business, what were three things that you were concerned about before starting the business And what are three things that you are concerned about moving forward? Does that make
Uh,
sense?
yeah. So before I started it, I wasn't worried about the motivation. It was really who's going to make them. Can I get the cigars? How long does it take? Uh, do we have enough money? Am I crazy? You got to sell cigars, roll it a little bit, order more. Um, you know, does something happen where now you need some money because something happened? You know, and is there still money there to buy? Now it's kind of the same thing. You roll a little bit, you buy more. When I first ordered, my first order was 2,000 sticks. This order that just came from La Aurora was 15,000 sticks.
So
So
2,000 sticks was your first order. I got to ask you,
100 boxes. Yep.
how does the chief go about? Because I assume you don't have sales experience. You have public experience, but you don't
Right.
have sales experience, correct?
Right.
So how does the chief walk into a shop that you don't know, not that doesn't know you, but a new shop, and sell 2,000 boxes?
I go to back up with my uncles a little bit because they're salesmen. So you
Oh,
kind of
okay,
you
okay,
kind of get tips and stuff
sure.
from the elders, and basically it's just I don't know. People are like sometimes they tell you, bro, I could talk to you all day long, let's say, or it was a pleasure meeting you, or you weren't pushy. I've gone to shops, the same shop 3 times. 3 times the guy's like, oh, we're just thinking about it, and you back away. Do you keep going in? Do you keep hounding them? My theory is if they really want it, they'll give me a call. Here's my card. If I could help you with something or do anything, give me a call. I've had one shop, it took about 3 years to get in there. And I'd go to that shop intentionally. I would support their events that they do, stuff like that. People would say, "Yo, do you carry the chief? I know Kenny's here." No, we don't carry it. And then brought in one box. And I tell all my stores, "You want one box? Let's try one box." I'm not telling you that you have to buy 5 boxes or 10 boxes as the opening deal and stuff like that. Put a box on the shelf. Let's see how it goes. You know, the box sells out. Hey, look, let's do another order and let's add one of your other blends to it. And in that store, I happen to have all 3 blends and the Habano and the Connecticut come in a Gordo. So he carries all 5 boxes.
What was it like that first reorder? What did that feel like for you? Because nobody makes any money off of that first sale. It's all the reorder. It's all the
Oh, yeah.
repetitive business. So when you sold out of that first 2,000, what was that first reorder like? What feeling did you? I, I know when I did the bacon company and I sold out of my first bout of several hundred pounds of bacon, I literally about cried because it was just the reality of, is this
Yeah.
actually happening?
Yeah. It was nice to see the people and my family was there and stuff. Um, Guys coming in from the firehouse and friends that I knew. And it was nice to say, like, hey, we needed another 100 boxes, you know? And I thought it was crazy. And the other salesperson was like, look, we have 19 different cigars. And at the Christmas party, we could sell 100, 150 boxes. You have one cigar, one blend, 3 sizes, and you sold out 100 boxes. You should be hugely proud of yourself that you have that kind of following, you know? And, uh, and it's, yeah, it was when you ordered that second one and that third one, when I was blessed to go over, from Rocky to Gabby, and we came out with the other 2 cigars. Then you're scratching your head again, going, now I have to pay for 3 different blends, you know, and then going now to La Aurora, when we staged and upped everything to 4 and 5 year age tobacco now. So that costs more. The quantity, you can't order 2,000 sticks anymore. It's 5,000 per blend, you know, and you're sitting there going, man, what am I doing? And when you can just redo that order, yeah, you feel great about yourself. Like, hey, this is going someplace, and we're still doing this, and we may be small, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with being that little guy. Like I said, maybe one day we'll be up there with the big fellers, but block by block by block, brick by brick, if you want to call it, and
Well,
we'll just keep going.
I tell you what, now that since you're with La Aurora now, you got to get your hands on their rum.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, their rum.
I heard it's
I
amazing.
I'm strictly bourbon. I've sworn off beer for about 4 or 5 years now. I got to keep my girlish figure. Um, but I was never a rum guy. Gosh, it will. I will be buying bottles of this the second this is done. Like it's incredible. So that brings me to my next thing: is at the firehouse.
Hmm.
You guys are. It's a smoking firehouse. We had talked about this before the show, and what that
Yeah,
means, everybody, don't make calls. What that means is they're allowed to smoke outside. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
indoors.
so before anyone gets all up in their panties all twisted up about firemen smoking, they go into burning buildings all day. They could smoke a cigar. Don't worry about it. So you guys are a smoking cigar house. So kind of walk us through the iteration of you started your brand and then you guys having cigars at the firehouse, or were cigars at the firehouse before your brand?
No. A lot of the younger guys now are into the cigars more than the past members. And we do guys will go to different firehouses who are doing a cigar night and stuff like that. Everybody will get tickets. I'd say there's probably about 8 to 10, cigar smoking guys. And we have a nice um, refrigerator style humidor, and it's got my cigars and other cigars that guys buy. There's usually one or two guys that keep it kind of stocked a little bit, and you put a couple of bucks in and you take a stick. Anybody that belongs to that has a key to unlock it, and grab a smoke cigar. And they'll sit outside after a meeting, stuff like that, chill back, smoke a cigar. I pretty much always have one in my mouth. There's a couple of the other guys, will be hanging out, a call will come in or whatever, the case may be. And they're outside washing the truck, washing the engine, stuff like that. They got a cigar going. So it's, I'd say more now, present time, than it was in the past with guys smoking cigars. And then you got a couple of the old time members that, they were a diehard cigar smoker. And we used to have the small dog walker, I called it, which was a 4x44. Came in a pack of 10. Those are the perfect in between, especially wintertime lunch, cigar. And so, yeah, we got a nice little humidor at the firehouse.
When did you first become a fireman? What year?
Family. I joined in 1989.
Okay. I want to ask you if I can, because I've never actually had the opportunity to ask somebody about 9/11. Were you a fireman during that time?
Yeah, I was there. I was at the top of the pit at one time, and the battalion chief said, we were doing a bucket brigade. It was 5 gallon buckets in a whole line. And he said, your only job is if I yell up to you, you're going to wave your arms. And when I waved it, because they believe they hear something in the hole, uh, when I waved my arms, it was a very crazy scene to pull up to, like a movie shoot, if you would say.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
now you have machines operating and everything else. When I tell you, machines shut down at that point, you could hear a pin drop, and they would listen to see if anything was going on, or if one of the dogs was picking up a scent or something. And a bunch of guys in my firehouse, the volleys came together to do whatever they could to help FDNY. You know with what happened. Uh, we happened to pull in with one of the chief's cars, who I had just gotten out of the chief's office, and the chief that was behind me, we took his car in that next morning, and we pulled up right down by Chambers Street, and it was crazy. It was crazy. My
So
little man asked me when he was in like fifth or sixth grade, if I would go in and speak about it, to his class and stuff, but I didn't do it.
That's why I asked permission to talk about it now, because there are people that you just, it's like military experience. You have to ask. You don't just assume you can ask,
Right.
because that probably was the single most devastatingly scary moment of your entire career.
You didn't
Um,
you didn't know what was happening. There was times where the horns went off because I guess they called it Building 6. It was all glass, still standing, and they thought that was leaning and going to come down, and everybody would bail out of that pile, run up the block until they knew it was still safe, and then you would come back down. You just didn't. It was insane what was going on and what was happening. Um,
so when
it,
something like that happens, and you're obviously you were at the firehouse probably morning of, no understanding of what was just about to happen, do you guys even wait for a call, or do you just get in the fucking truck and go at that point? Like you're just like, nope, we gotta
yeah, yeah.
go.
Oh, we did. The four of us had just gotten in the car and went. But each one of the firehouses were called once a little bit of, I guess, coordination was set up. We would go in. This Long Island went in and actually stood by at different FDNY firehouses so that they could go over, and do what they were doing down at the pit. So we were helping with their firehouse and their local call, and then you had all these volleys that were down at the pit also helping with stuff going on. It was crazy. I could never imagine that happening again. We lost three firemen that were in my volley firehouse who were also New York City firemen. Um, and then now it's even worse with cancer and who's getting checked up all these years later now,
Yeah,
who has
John
lung
Stewart.
issues, yeah,
John
and stuff
Stewart's
like that.
really integral in
Yeah,
being like the biggest fucking bullhorn for you guys around health and
yeah.
healthcare around that. So when something like that happens, do you guys cease becoming voluntary, and now the state employs you for that time period? Or are
No,
you guys still seen as voluntary?
yeah, you're still a volunteer.
Is that including in the healthcare situation and all that?
That's all picked up by the state. So
Okay,
there was
so
a
voluntary
big.
covers
You
the
went on a
healthcare.
list, and the days that you were there, and there was a big form and everything to fill out at the time in case anything health wise happened to me. It's covered through that.
But normally that doesn't happen. That happened because of the situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So if you get hurt on the job right
I'm
now,
covered.
you're
I'm
so
covered under workman's comp through the firehouse, even though
okay.
it's volunteer.
Okay, so they do cover you guys in that sense.
Right.
Um After 9/11, what were some of the processes that changed for you guys that, in your opinion, should have been changed previous? Because I know a lot changed in how fire response happened in the state of New York because of 9/11.
Yeah, I guess you could say the way things were toned out or response wise to like us to FDNY, let's say, we have certain tools on our truck now that would adapt to
Mm-hmm.
their hydrants,
Yep.
um, stuff like that, and couplings and everything else like that. Because we're one town away from the Queens area right
Mm-hmm.
here, so the town next to us in Elmont, they can get called at any time to them. So it was, what are you missing? What do you need on the truck that may help with that situation and stuff like that. And now there's drills that were implemented and instituted to respond in. And if something major happened, whether it be one of like big ball fields or anything like that, so once a year we do a drill, and trucks go in to the city, they stage, this is where you're going to be. And they've become a lot more, Franklin Square, Elmont, West Hempstead, let's say, you're going to always be right here, and So there's a lot of groundwork that definitely went into all of that stuff after 9/11.
So the state kind of trued up all the voluntary fire departments to be able to be versatile to go anywhere in the city as needed, versus beforehand it wasn't necessarily
It
that
was
way.
actually more the city and the volleys that got together versus the state.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
See,
and said,
again,
hey, because you have the paid guys who are also volunteers, and then you have the paid guys that hate the volunteers, because they're paid, you know, and
doesn't make sense to me, but okay.
exactly, it's there. Trust me, you know, and so I think it was more between the organizations that actually smartened up and said, hey, we could do that. We need to do this, you know.
How much has the fire department world in New York gotten better from when you started? And what I mean by that is in some ways it's gotten better. And so I hope you don't mind going down this path. This stuff is
Yeah.
I this is a connection point for me because I love learning about this stuff. This gives everybody your side, and you're very calm. Like I would you're very calm and cool and collected. So I'm sure you were an absolutely fantastic chief. It makes total sense why you got voted in. But what I'm curious about is how has firefighting changed in New York since the 80s to now? Has it gotten easier or harder in the sense of like paperwork or just
Yeah.
getting stuff done?
So back in the day, it was much easier. Um, when I first joined, you had a jacket, a helmet, and leather boots that pulled up to your hips. Now you got bunker pants. You have so the equipment has gotten much better. But what happens too is now that I have pants and a hood and everything under my helmet, a Scott pack that might last a little longer in time because it's a bit bigger cylinder, it puts you deeper into the fire because now you don't feel the heat as much. So it used to be when you felt the heat and you were 1800 degrees, let's say, and
Jesus.
this big orange glow in front of you, you knew to go certain depth. Now you can go a little further because you have more protection. Over the years, more technology has come across. The Scott masks that are on our face now have almost like a portable microphone in them, so that when I speak, you try to train the probies to scream. You got to communicate with the guy that's behind you. You got to tell him we're advancing. You got to, and then you put a mask on your face and he sees what you're talking about. And now I have to try to talk into a radio to communicate to either my officer or the chief that's outside, and I'm screaming through a mask. Technology has allowed that little amplifier now to make it so that you're not, screaming, because the more I scream, the more oxygen I'm sucking out of my tank, which
Mm-hmm.
only allows me in a fire for so long. And you try to teach the new guys and the new probies this. I'm like, you're going to suck down a tank fast. They're like, oh, no, not me. And we get into that training tower and it's dark and we only have smoke in it and there's no fire. And they're going, because they can't see a thing. And in 6 minutes, their tank is empty. And they're like, I got to get out. I got to get out. Relax. You're in a
Control.
training trailer.
Yeah.
It's controlled. Wait till we go to what we call Bethpage and we have a fire in front of you. And that's the make and break point. Like some of them would be like, okay, this ain't for me. You guys are crazy. I thought I could do this. It ain't for me. And then the other ones that they just, calm and as many years as I'm doing it, when you go in, it's still, you know, you can't see. All you know is there's heat in front of you. You're looking for the glow. You're trying to make sure there's still a floor in front of you, stuff like that. And you're trying to get through. You're always, it is never that sure thing. We've technologies come together, computers in the cars and trucks that now we've pre-planned stuff. You can enter it into the computer where we never had that before. We used to have a route book that one of the ex-chiefs in my department made up. When you pull out of that bay door, it told you on a card every right and left turn
Oh my
how to get
God.
to that block so that
Oh my
everybody came in the
God.
right way.
That's a lot
Now
of
it's on a
work.
now it's on a computer screen. But I'll tell you how
Wow.
many times we still look at that book because that card is right there, even though the computer in front of the officer is going to give him a map. As the driver, you like to look at that, say, okay, I'm going to make a right on Claflin. I'm going to go down 4 blocks, make a left, go down 3 blocks, make a right to this block. You still look at that card. But technology's definitely helped out. We've gone for that old revolving light on the top to the strobes that blind everybody now when you're trying to get down the block. But yeah,
What is
it's
what's the scariest part of a fireman's life or work? And I think I know what you're going to say, but I think I'm going to be surprised that you have had to learn to get through it. What I mean by that is when you listen to like special forces guys talk, they'll tell you it's not that I'm not scared, it's that I've learned to not show it. I've
yeah,
learned to control the fear. So how
yeah.
much of that rings true for you?
It is because you like so let's say you're out at Bethpage and you're training and or you're training a new guy and you go into the house and you say to yourself, oh, you got 35 years, everybody's going to look at you or try to follow you you know, and you got to stay calm and cool and collective, but you may be scared beanless inside, because you don't know what you're going into. You don't know what's going on. So I'd say you still get that every time there's a fire. You could be going to what they call an automatic alarm, and everybody treats it like, just an automatic alarm. Some sensor went off in the house. Next thing you know, the chief gets there and he calls a 98, which is smoke showing, and you're going to work. You know, so you never know what you're going to get into, but um, yeah, it is that you never. You're always trying to play the tough guy routine, but deep down inside, you're like, yeah, well, how's this going to turn out?
What was the experience in your life where you were like, I don't know if I could do this?
Um,
And if
I
you
don't
didn't
know.
have that because you're that much of a badass, then you could say that. Like I have
No.
buddies in the military that are like, yeah, no, I legitimately I loved every minute of it.
Yeah,
Like
no, I've always enjoyed it. My father was in the department before me. My brother was in the department. You know, when I joined, my brother was still in it, and then he moved up state some, and he became wound up becoming a chief in the department where he was. And I don't know. Since I'm a kid, I hung around the firehouse. So I'd go to the calls with my father, and I'd sit in the car and wait for him to come back. And when I got on probation, I've always enjoyed it. I've always, yeah, I've always been gung ho.
now I've noticed this with law enforcement where you'll have, oh, my dad was at law enforcement, my uncle, my grandfather. But what I see in in the fireman area is, oh, my dad was a fireman, my grandfather was a fireman, his
Yeah,
father was like, I'm a fucking fireman. Like this is where we're going.
yeah.
Like how why does firefighting that that job in itself? What about that job produces that just
One.
strong family pull where it's like, this is what I'm going to do. My dad did it. I wouldn't think of anything else.
Yeah, probably that brotherhood, and it doesn't happen everywhere. You'll get the cliques and stuff like that, but you get that camaraderie of everybody together. And my dad was in the department, and I guess if like I said, hanging around as a kid and stuff, it was just I was the first one in my family to become a chief. My father was a captain in the company, and my brother was an officer. He became a chief later on in his department that he went to, and it was kind of like that honor as well. That I was a small junior when I joined the department prior to probation, and then rose through the ranks, and I was the first one in my family to become a chief. And yeah, it's just that I don't know. It's hard to explain. It was like I don't know. It was like I guess, like you said, like, yeah, you're going there anyway. Your father and brother were in the firehouse, but when you're doing it as a kid, it's like you just kind of like, yeah, man, I'm supposed to do this. You know,
What
they did it. I got to do it.
what did you feel the day you made Chief and your well, for one, you got to rub it in your brother's face, which probably felt amazing.
Nah,
I know. Hey, any opportunity I get to gloat to my brother, I do. Even he became chief, you could always look at him and go, I was first. But was your father alive to see you, Chief?
no,
No.
no.
What did that feeling feel like? Because I feel there's such like with that strong family background that you have, that had to have been like your dad was like the scene in Empire Strikes Back, like he was right there, like you saw him there even though he wasn't, right?
Yeah,
It
it
got to
it,
feel
it
like
was
that.
it was nice. When I ran for chief, it was me and five guys all running for the same position. So, and you voted amongst the department people, and it was nice to know that they wanted you. It felt good. You always get that little bit, afterwards. I voted for this guy, whatever the case. But then at that point, it's proving yourself. That they voted for you, and you can't let them down, and you got to be there and do the right thing. And very good friend of my family, who was a chief twice, about 10 years apart. He used to teach you that somebody gets in trouble, they come in your chief's office. When you walk back out of that door, it's done. There's no grudges, there's no
Hmm.
this. So I tried to do it where when you left my chief's office, it was over. You know, when I was chief, I mean, yeah, I suspended people. I did things. We had a call one day and the softball team was going to play softball. And I, you guys go play softball. But you, the whole 12 of you is suspended until Sunday if you think that's more important than, and I suspended the whole softball team. You know,
Wow.
my sister was in EMS, messed up. I don't care. You're not family right now. You're suspended. You know, I suspended my own sister. You
that
know,
made Christmas or Thanksgiving interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
But
got
you're right
suspended as
though.
chief.
Oh, you did.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I had
How does a chief get suspended if it's
when you
voluntary?
when you piss off the commissioners. And unfortunately, my first wife had passed away about 3 weeks prior to me getting suspended. And they got me on a technicality that I didn't hand in a inventory sheet on time. So
Stupid
yeah, it's all politics.
government
Yeah, and but I was suspended for 17 days as chief, and chiefs
without
after
pay,
me,
right?
yeah,
Without
without
pay.
pay, yeah. Chiefs after me had been suspended. So it doesn't just happen to, it could happen to the chief. It could happen, to anybody. But yeah, so you try to do the right thing. It's still talked about sometimes. When you were chief, we used to have such a great time down here, but things change. People change, cliques change. When I was chief, maybe a year ago, there was a chief was sweeping up the floor after a meeting and stuff. I had said to one of the newer guys, I said, "How long you here?" Year and a half. I said, "Well, you got two choices. I'm here 34 years. You're going to take the broom out of the chief's hand. You're going to sweep up the floor. Tell him, Chief, hey, I got it, just out of respect, or go home." And they go home. Instead of mentality has changed
Wow.
a lot with the younger
Wow.
people. And the younger people, I've noticed it's more what's for me, you know,
Hmm.
than it is that, and they
Brotherhood.
forget it. It's still that power military organization, So,
But they just don't have that brotherhood esque feel that you
no,
guys all
no,
had.
no. Whether we were brought up different and stuff like that, people are always like, "Oh, these kids today." No, it's the way you brought up your kid, you know.
Now, see, here's the long way I traveled to get to this point right here. That explains why you love the cigar industry so much. The cigar industry is a brotherhood.
Yeah.
The cigar industry now, there's dirty players, there's great players. All right, just like every industry. I'm not saying there's not, but
Sure.
as a whole, the cigar world is a brotherhood, is a sisterhood driven industry in the sense that if you need help and they can help you, they will.
Right.
I don't know of any other companies or any other verticals where my entire factory just went up in flames. Can you? And now I've got 20 people offering to give me tobacco,
Right.
and these are my competitors. Like, these are people that I'm taking money out of their. So, like, it totally makes sense why you got involved in another brotherhood esque, sisterhood esque, family driven vertical of the cigars. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's amazing. I don't know, when you sit in a shop and you notice and you're just sitting back and BSing with a whole bunch of different people that all do different jobs and all, but when you're at a cigar lounge, you're all smoking this, you know, and talking and socializing. Cigar people are different, you know. It's just they light up. It's a total brotherhood, you know. It's, hey, what are you smoking? Hey, what are you smoking? You know, one of the shops I used to hang out in, no matter who walked through the door, it was, hey, how you doing? Hey, how's it going? You know, you never walked in and got just, there's shops that they'll just look at you like, what are you doing here and stuff like that. And then you start to socialize a little bit and the ice is broken, you know. Next thing you know, it's what do you do? What do you do? What, yeah, I love it. It's amazing.
How much did that surprise you that the cigar world, because it's different looking at it as a consumer than kind of peeking behind the iron curtain, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, how much of that, when you peeked behind the iron curtain, surprised you that it was that much of a brotherhood?
Yeah, I thought it would be, and it's competitive. Don't get me wrong, but
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I thought it would be a lot worse. Um, we happened to be down at in Florida, Cathedral Cigars, doing a Smoke and Shields event 2 years ago, or actually was it maybe last November? And Carlito was there, and Cynthia and everybody, and we're doing this big fundraiser for the Smoke and Shields, who was a police organization, Shields, and you're talking with these people, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Bobby Newman, and and one of the guys happens to mention that it was my birthday because you're all bidding on cigars and stuff like that, and you're sitting there and he's just like, hey, oh no, really? What's the brand and who's making it for you? And it's like, didn't blow you off, didn't say I'm bigger and better than you, and next thing you know, they Carlito finds out it's your birthday, and all these people are singing happy birthday to you. They could have said nothing. He could have said, you're the little guy. He goes, no, no, the chief, man, the fireman. And here I am in a room full of cops bidding on a cigar, and they're making fun of me. Hey, the hose monkey's bidding on the cigar, you know. And that's one man that absolutely loves first responders. He is
Oh,
all
yes.
for first responders, whether you're military or fire or police. He loves everybody.
I
And
agree. I agree. And the first time I met Carlito, I actually met him at Cathedral as well. Him and Cynthia. Cynthia was actually on my show, my highest watched show ever, Ladies
I'm
of the
sure.
uh, Ladies of the Leaf Roundtable, like almost 4,000 views on it, I think, right now,
Ah,
which isn't saying much, but for the cigar world, that's quite a bit.
sure.
And I walked in, and obviously I know who Carlito is, but then he goes, "Hey, Rocky Mountain," and I'm like, "You got to be fucking." I was like, "There's no way you're talking to me. I've never even met you before. Like, how does that even happen?" Oh, I
That's
watched you.
great,
My
right?
sister was on. Like, it is such a great feeling. But then again, like, you it it you are magnetized to that brotherhood lifestyle.
Right.
and that cigar world gave that to you in a different format. Um, how much of your life is driven by mentors? I love
Yeah.
mentors.
I look at all of those guys like, I watch what they do, see what they do, or what are they thinking of doing, or listening, or watching a podcast, or seeing who they're on with, and um, following them. And yeah, there's no doubt about it. If you don't have a mentor in this business, you're crazy. You know, there's always somebody you look up to, like Omar Fratello. I remember him coming into Maxie's just handing out a sample. You know, and it's great. There's a few without a doubt
Would
that I
you
answered.
be, because obviously as a fireman you need mentors, right? As a fireman, especially in the 80s, it was all
Yeah,
experience driven. You
yeah.
didn't have, you had an axe, leather boots, and a coat and a hat, like you said. How much of your life, as far as the fireman to even coming into the cigar world, was guided by mentors in your throughout your life?
Uh, into the cigar world.
Well, just even into the firewood world. Like your dad had to have hazed you a little bit, or you had to have relied on him, or you get like what you had said earlier. 35 years of experience, the guy that's going to be following you. What do I look for on the ground? Hey, guys,
Yeah.
see that? Don't touch that. You're going to fall through. Step over here. How much of that was given to you in the beginning?
A lot, a lot. There was a bunch of people that were family friends of my dad's when I was a kid, and they were always there for you when I was coming into the fire department, coming from the juniors into probation. You could ask them anything, you know, Phil and Tony and all these guys, and if you had a question, they would. This is what you want to do. This is what you want to look for. Uh, they would tell you and pound it into your head to learn the truck, where equipment was, because you don't have that time. You know that you need a certain nozzle and you need to know it's on the third compartment on the officer side of the truck. You can't be opening doors going, okay, where's this? Where's this? Where's this? You need to. They were always there for you as a mentor. You'd have that. I was lucky enough to have 8, 10 people that I could go to and ask questions, and they were always there for you.
How much of their, because you always hear back in the 80s, 90s, you guys razzed each other. You guys had hazing and but fun, but fun. How much of how much of the hazing was in reality training, in reality mentorship, and going, obviously not like doing stupid gags or tricks or jokes and stuff, but like
Yeah, no,
if
they
you're going through a training house and somebody just does something to you and you're like, wow, that was totally unexpected, that would be seen as hazing. But how much of that was in reality training?
yeah, when you look at it after and you understand why they did it, you're like, oh man, that's why they did it.
Exactly.
And yeah, you got it. Uh, Not as much today as it was back then, because today
Can't
who's
do it.
sensitive about every little thing? It's unbelievable.
That's what we
You
want.
know,
We want our firemen to be sensitive.
when you were when I was a probie, you would get dragged into the hose tower, your belt would get hooked on the rack, and they'd lift you up into the air, on the winch. You try that today, that ain't happening.
Oh
You know.
yeah, oh yeah. I went to a summer camp my entire life. You used to do this thing called shake and bake, where we'd throw a kid in a lake, bring him out, roll him around in the sand, and walk away like a
Yeah,
shake and bake thing out of a bag. You
yeah, yeah,
can't do
yeah.
that anymore either, you know.
Um, which is a shame, because a lot of that stuff was definitely helpful, but and you knew what to stay away from, and you knew what to, not do. You know.
How scary was it that first fire you were in?
Oh,
Did you freeze?
yeah, I'm sure I did.
Hmm.
Uh,
I
I
appreciate
can
the
remember.
honesty.
I can remember on probation, um, being there, being gung ho, and when you got in there, you were like, okay, no matter how many times I went into a training trailer or something like that, this was, you went in, you did your job, but it's in your head like, oh crap, what am I doing? You know, like it's just a room full of fire at the time. I remember where it was. It was behind the high school.
Oof.
It was a big house. There was a gentleman in front of me, who I won't name, but an experienced guy. I was the backup man. We went in through the front door, and right there at the front door, there was no floor. It was a basement fire that already came through the first
Oh
floor.
my gosh.
So you couldn't even get in. And you're going, wow, if I would have just been pushy or something and went right through that front door, we would be gone. We would have been downstairs with the baby grand piano that was sitting on the first floor, which you didn't know was down there until after the fire was out and you knew the big hole was there and you saw the furniture that was in the basement floor and there was a piano down there that was on the first floor at the time, you know. Crazy.
Yeah, is very scary. But again, I love talking about all of this because all of these things have taught you. So many people ask me in my life if I have regrets or if I would change anything. And I always shock them when I say, no. Like, what do you mean? Well, all of everything that I have done has made me who I am, and I like me.
100%.
Like, if I changed a series of events, a butterfly effect would happen, and I wouldn't maybe be where I am. Or
Doing what you do or met who you met or anything like that.
so,
Right.
how much of the fire experience, obviously, other than smoking cigars and everything, led you to the ability to run a business?
Um,
Because you run a business as a chief with a volunteer. That
yeah.
is a business.
Hey, you're the boss without a doubt. This
Did
charge is
that
not worth
teach you?
for fucking.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
that teach you structure? Did you have to learn that? Like, what were some of the key attributes as being a chief that you've brought over to running a company?
Uh, let's see. I'm just grabbing a different charger because this one's not working. Um, I gotta say, kind of crazy, but I guess it was when I finally got into the chief's office, and you were responsible for so much stuff, you know, and responsible for what happens to members and stuff like that, and budget and everything else, that you really started paying attention to all the little stuff. And that's when I could say I actually put that towards more use in the fires in the cigar industry. And it's on a different level, really. Yeah, you're a chief, you're in charge, you're running stuff. Um, but in the cigar part, if I don't do this, I'm not going to make that, you know. So we're on the fire department side, the chief side. Yes, I'm responsible for membership and making sure the classes are done and stuff like that. So accountability and um, so you could say, I'm responsible for all these guys, and is there enough of this, and is there enough training? So in the cigar part, do I have enough of the Proby cigar? Do I have enough of this? Inventory wise, my membership, their gear, stuff like that.
So it
Those
gave
kind
you
of
the ability to
same thing.
forecast. It gave you the ability to forecast
Forecast, right?
as far as needs, and that's a really hard thing as a business owner, especially if something takes off, to be able to manage that forecast, to be able to
Yeah.
manage that expectations, to be able to keep product on the shelf. Same thing with the fire department, to be able to manage to keep the hoses in good shape. You've got a lot of procurement. What was the one thing when you became chief that shocked you about the job, that when you were a captain you were like, come on, that's got to be simple?
Um,
Because it's
Probably
not all roses and gumdrops when you're the chief.
no, because you're the guy that everybody's looking up to. So the cap, when you're captain, you're gonna go like this. I got a lieutenant and a chief. When you're the chief, they're all coming to you for the answers, and um, you got to know them. What's the district? The fire district is the guys that run the money from the surrounding the homes, that the tax money. What are they going to say? What are they going to do? And when you're a chief, you're just you're thinking of everything. Plus it's, how do I keep my membership active? Get them to want to come to the call. What's going to make them want to be at the firehouse? What can we do this Friday night that everybody's going to hang out in case there's a call? You know, um, you're always thinking of stuff. And today, the Chiefs today have it even worse. Between state classes and stuff like that, and membership is so low, and nobody, people don't volunteer as much, or don't have the time to volunteer. Here on Long Island, years ago, you could work one job. Now you got to work two and three to afford that same house. That was in 2000, 170, and now it's 700,000 for that exact same house.
Yeah.
So it's even worse.
I want to kind of dive into a little bit about you personally right now, as we've got about 30 minutes left in the show. What does the chief do? Who is Ken when he's not the chief, or who is Ken when he's not Ken Doerrbecker, the fireman?
Uh, I don't know. Pretty simple guy. Between working my regular village job, and I also do Ingar on sprinkler systems in the afternoon. Had a little business doing that. Uh, Basically just chilling out, hanging out. I'm pretty simple.
Are you a
I'm either
reader? Are you a vacationer? Do you like to
no,
travel?
no, I'm not a big travel guy. I do try to go to Florida to see my brother. You know, um, Pennsylvania, stuff like that. Before my recent separation, my wife and kids were down in Myrtle Beach, so uh, got great kids. My stepson, super proud, military, Myrtle Beach cop. My little man does his thing. Uh, so I was lucky enough to have two kids grow up, you know, and do well and be proud of them. Uh, I'm a pretty simple guy, really am. I mean, I get up 4:45, go to work, do my sprinklers, do my cigars, hit the bed back at 11:30. You know,
So, what do you do for fun? If I was to ask Ken, what do you want to do for fun outside of the cigars? Like just like to
um,
where like you don't do anything other than just for you.
I used to bowl a lot.
Okay,
I used to be really big into bowling,
I'm
believe it or not,
terrible,
back in the day. Yeah,
terrible.
I was pretty good until some back surgery wiped that out. So we didn't have to worry about that anymore. I do enjoy a lot. I haven't been out a lot this year, unfortunately, with my back, but my motorcycle. Belong to a great group of guys in a motorcycle club, all firemen from all different firehouses and towns. So we would do a lot of stuff with that. I miss those guys. I really haven't been able to be out a lot this year. And into cars, you know, uh, I enjoy cars. I've had quite a few 66 Mustangs, 55 Nomads.
What's the best car you've ever had? Your
Probably
favorite?
my my favorite. Well, I'm a truck guy, so honestly, the truck I have now is a 21 Silverado that's lifted 6 inches with 35-inch tires and stuff like that. But when it came to the cars, uh, I had a '78 El Camino. That was probably my
Ooh,
favorite. Yeah, it was pretty. My
the,
father used to have body shops when I was growing up as a kid. So my friends at school used to make fun of me that I didn't wax my cars. I just repainted them. You know, I could. I had a '78 Corvette senior year in high school, and father one day decided you got a little bit of cracking in that. Pull it inside, start DA down the car. I went back to school the next day with a fresh paint job.
my buddy had an El Dorado, which was the Ford version of the El Camino in high school, and he used to call it his mullet.
Yeah.
And when you ask him, he goes, "It's all business in the front seat. It's all party in the back." So yeah, no, those
Yes.
are those
That
are a
was a
lot of
great
fun.
car.
Yeah,
I
no,
had that
those
car
are
for a
fun.
long time.
Those
Yeah.
and those were some of those were pretty souped up and pretty fast. So,
Yeah, we had an L88 motor in it from a vet. So
oh shit.
yeah, it
Okay.
was nice. I
And
had
what
a
about your
smoky.
bike?
I had a right now. I still have the 2000 Ultra Classic, and I had a 2013 Street Glide that was all done up, 21-inch chrome rims, and actually there was a company that was fabricating the fire department Maltese after 9/11. That was the whole center of the rim. And before I had my back surgery and I got rid of it, I was actually ordering one of those rims, and that was all done up, chrome everywhere. And I'm a big chrome guy now. Today, day and age, everybody wants a black powder coat, so it's easy to clean. Where you pull up with a nice, and it was fire engine red, metallic, with all the chrome all over the place with the big 8 bars and stuff like that.
So full
That
chopper.
wasn't chopper. I had the 12-inch bars and stuff like that, but it was
So
a regular four.
you had the ape hangers?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And but I always had to have music on my bike, so that's why I like the street lights and stuff, or the Ultra
Mhm.
Classics, because you got the radio and everything,
Mhm.
So that worked out well. So between the motorcycles and the cars, that's what I like. I like going to car shows. Everybody's like, "Oh, set up a cigar table." I'm like, "No, I don't want it because I want to walk around the car show." You know, I don't want to be stuck behind my cigar table. I'm here to check out the cars and see what's going on.
Oh yeah, my one of my life mentors, his name's Dave Lapello. I call him my tiny Italian. He's like 5.5, about 5.5 feet tall, Marine, and he would turn you into a pretzel, like
Right.
just before you ever even wrestling this guy in his 60s. He would pin me and make me tap. Like he could do a sitting handstand from a chair. So I met him at a Christian camp in Wisconsin, and he would be giving sermons on a chair and then do a handstand while he's still speaking and then come right back down doing cartwheels and flips on stage. Like, he was incredible. Marine Corps, back in the 50s he was in, early 60s.
Wow.
And I wrestled him once or twice, and I decided never to do that again. I didn't care how old he was. He whooped my ass like something nothing else. But he actually he married my wife and I. He was the officiator,
Oh wow.
and he brought down a '38 Ford chop top with a 327 small block in it that he spent a ton restoring. And he brought it down, and he's like, "Oh, I was just wondering, do you have like a getaway car or like a limo the next day?" I was like, "No, Dave. Why? What are you thinking?" He goes, "Why? I didn't know he brought it." He goes, I brought the Ford down if you guys want to use it." He spent 4 hours that night detailing it for the morning that we were using it. Like,
That's insane.
it was awesome. And it was such a, because I've known this guy since I was 7. So I saw this 38 Ford in pieces for 20 plus years in his
Getting
garage.
rebuilt.
In his No, he didn't rebuild it until I was in my mid 20s. It was
Wow.
just in pieces. So it was such a great thing for me to be able to be like full circle with this thing. Like, now I'm able to drive it. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I totally understand. He would take me to car shows, so I get it.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. Where do you see Chief Cigars 10 years from now, 5 years from
Uh, I hope in a lot more shops. Um, if we go the way we're going and working it the way we're working it now, um, I could see, I could hopefully see myself more like the big guys. Um, Maybe Scar aficionado, stuff like that. Uh, guys at work tease me all the time. They're like, "Oh, one day we'll open up Cigar aficionado and be like, hey, we worked with this guy. You know, he used to work with us." And I would love to see it around everywhere. Let's get into tobacco and stuff like that, and be in Germany and overseas distribution and stuff. That would be awesome. Um,
So your goal is nationwide.
it would be nice, yes. Yeah, that would be the ultimate goal. Yes.
When do you feel will be your first rung of you feeling like you've made it? Does that make
Um,
sense?
yeah, yeah. When uh when I could just sit back and say, you know what, I want to come up with the next blend. Let's put 20,000 sticks. Let's 10,000 sticks. Let's give it a shot. Let's do or a limited release. Yeah, you could do a limited release. And do 2,000 sticks, 100 boxes. Some of these guys do limited releases like that. I guess when I could sit there and not worry uh, if the bank account is backing up what I want to do, you know, once 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 that bad boy's a little bit, bigger and better, and I could say, you know what, let's do a second order. Let's go push out another 20, 30 shops. Let's, do stuff like that, then I'll be more excited a little, if you want to say, or know that, hey, we're getting there. This is starting to. I mean, I get pictures all the time of people, and they're like, "Oh, enjoying this stick, love this stick." I'm like, "Great, tag me on Instagram or something like that, or do you mind if I post it?" You know, which is really nice. When somebody sends you, hey, I love your stick. You know, sure, I tagged you in Instagram or something like that, or Facebook, and that feels really good. And you kind of feel it like, wow, this is going someplace and it's doing something. Somebody's enjoying what we do. You know, and taking recommendations when you're making a blend.
Now, we had talked about a little bit before the show how you have, speaking of new product, you have potentially not potentially, but you're working on a new cigar. Can you let everybody know what that is and when to expect
Yeah, so
that?
we were working on it originally with the prime manufacturer, and when we moved over to La Aurora, called the Chief Fire Pole, and it's a was going to be a Habano and Mexican San Andreas, and Manuel had sent up some samples of a Mexican San Andreas and Sumatra wrap, and we're trying to get that into the push, and that will be the new Chief Fire Pole. And I also have with another manufacturer a triangular box that we just finished working on, called the Chalk, kind of like the door chalk in the
Yeah.
firehouse. And that'll be small, 4 by 58, kind of like an inch or a nub, that size style. And there's a
What's the
lot of things I
barber
want
pole
to
going to
do.
be? What's the barber pole size?
6 by 52.
6 by 52. Okay.
Yeah, or 5 3/4. If La Aurora does it for me, or another person that we're looking at doing it.
So you were saying there was a lot of things you want to do. I just wanted to get the size of the barber pole out there.
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple ideas, and of course, guys are like, "Oh, when are you going to make the captain, and when are you going to make the lieutenant, and stuff like that." So
Let me
the
guess,
biggest
those were
thing is,
captains and lieutenants asking you.
of course, when are you making the commissioner? The commissioner. I'm sorry, the commissioner's wear gold, but the joke in the firehouse is that's fake gold, because the chief's gold is real gold. You earned that. You know.
Well, I want to know because I asked this to everybody because I'm a Lancero whore. Are we gonna get a Lancero called the Fire Hose?
I don't know. Lancero. I like Lanceros. There's a lot of great ones out there.
They're
My
hard
friend
to
Kevin
roll.
from Kevin from Rockefeller has a great one,
Yes, he does.
Lancero. And I thought about it. It is a tight niche market, Lanceros.
Hmm.
And but I'd like to get more variety of sizes for each blend first, before I work that. And that would just be another size. I would have to say the Mexican San Andreas that I have would probably be my best Lancero, if we were going to do it. So maybe offer that in a box press or a Lancero. That happens to be a great blend. I love it. And
I love box press. I love if done right.
yeah,
I don't think there's much better than a box press. That just that overall style, the feel in the mouth, everything. It's just
yeah.
it's my favorite. So here, just a
And
few. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, and I'm lucky enough that so when we moved over to La Aurora and the box press was taking a little time, where's the the old hands? I found come to find out that they actually pulled out molds. The only time La Aurora did a box press was the 100th anniversary for La Aurora. It was a box
Hmm.
press, and they actually took the molds out to do my box press because to keep everything within one factory. And to the understanding that I am the only box press that's made at La Aurora right now.
That's got to make you feel good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was
That's
pretty
got to
cool to
make
even
you feel
think
good.
that a company as special as them. For me, I maybe I shouldn't. I consider myself that nobody. What am I? Sticks a year stuff. That little guy. That they're that incredible of a factory to do that, so that you keep everything together.
I love the team at La Aurora. They're a sponsor of the show. They're absolutely fantastic. Will, Nico, they're all just absolutely fantastic people over at La Aurora
Yeah,
in so many ways. So, here in ending, I want to ask you just a few little lightning questions that I kind of ask
sure,
everybody to close the show. So,
cool.
what is your favorite rapper?
Um, I would have to say used to be the Maduro till I started smoking the Mexican San Andreas.
Okay.
I like that wrapper.
What is your favorite size?
6 by 54.
Okay. So a little bit bigger, around a normal Toro.
Yeah,
What is your favorite cut?
yeah, I'm pretty much and it's funny. I'm a fingernail picker.
Okay,
So
so it's like the
when
original rollers, the factory style.
yeah, and I got that from Hamlet.
Yep.
I was taking him, Rocky, and Allison to an event one night. They were in the back of my car, all three of them, and he was like, "I don't need a cut, man. My nail like this." And I find myself at work all day long, and that basically pop a little hole in it and done.
Are you a chewer or are you a
Done.
straight smoker?
Yeah, I'm a smoker.
Okay, my
I
uncle
mean, I have a
will
cigar
look.
all day long in my mouth, but it's not that ripped up, bit up.
Oh
I
yeah,
can have a cigar all day and it's still just by my teeth and be in good shape.
oh yeah. My uncle treats it like gum. He smokes about half of it, and then it looks like you can pull his dental profile off of it after.
Yeah.
What is your preferred? Are you cylindrical or box press? What do you prefer?
Yeah, I gotta say, yeah, I'm a Toro is my preferred.
No, I'm saying, are you cylindrical or box press?
Oh, box press.
What is your favorite pairing?
Ah, so believe it or not, and I just got turned on to this because I would have to say that um, Grand Marnier 100 Year
Okay,
was one of my favorite until I just got turned on to Hercules and Mulligan. It's a rum rye.
okay. I have not heard of that.
Absolutely, they were at Harry's Havana Hut doing a tasting. They're actually, I liked them so much, they're coming to my firehouse this Saturday night for our cigar night doing a tasting booth table. This goes amazing with my box press, I think. You know, I'm not that big connoisseur of wines and liquors and all of that kind of stuff. There's just a really, really great sweetness to this. And yeah, this was with my box press. I thought this stuff was amazing.
What's a wrapper or a tobacco that you wish you could work with but currently don't?
I'm dying to do with a Corojo.
Corojo. Okay. See, I see a
Yeah.
lot of people say broadleaf, but yours Corojo. Are
Yeah.
you Corojo 99, like the hybridized Corojo?
Well, I do have a 98 binder in one of the cigars.
Hmm.
So, I don't know. You know what it is with La Aurora, you have all of this different stuff available
Oh,
to you.
tons.
You know?
Everything at your fingertips.
Yeah. So, you look through a lot of stuff and you're like, wow, you know. So yeah, that's one I would like to really like to try.
What comes
I
first?
actually have a pack of Candela that Kevin and Kerry came out with, and that's pretty good too. Candela's not bad, but the Corojo is probably something I really want to try.
I love Candela. Kevin Shahan turned me on to Candela big time.
I have two of their 5 packs I had bought
Yes,
in my
the
in my humidor.
Kevin and Care.
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah. The Silent Green or
yes.
Soylent
That's
Green. Soylent Green.
Soylent Green.
Yeah, that's an interesting cigar. I liked it. I bought a couple of those too. Um, what is a manufacturer that you would love to work with down the road?
I mean, damn, I got a pretty good one right now. I don't
Who's?
know.
Well, let me ask you like this:
I have some
Who's
friends
some?
that it,
Let me ask it to you this way: Who's somebody that could call you up that you would not say no to?
would not say no. I mean, any one of them really, but I mean, you could have Fuente call you up. You could have, JC Newman call you up, but um, I don't know. I guess I would have to say Fuente.
Okay, and that would be huge, huge for you
Yeah,
guys. I mean,
yeah,
massive. Could you
yeah.
imagine the Opus Chief?
Yeah, I could imagine that.
So I think we need to make that happen. I
Yeah,
think that would be a
I
lot
may
of
have to
fun.
put that whisper in his ear when I'm back in Florida at the end of the month.
How long do you intend on staying in Florida before your taxes become too high that you move to a Florida or a Texas for cigars?
Oh, you mean in New York?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, how long before
But
you're
we're
like,
already at 75% tobacco tax.
that's what I mean. So like when you retire, is your plan to always stay in Long Island or would you move the company to Florida or
Uh,
Texas or PA?
yeah, um, yeah, I'd have to say. Well, we're at a PA, my house in PA now, um, and I'm back and forth between Long Island and
I
there.
keep forgetting how short of a distance that is.
Yeah,
That's like
it's 2 hours.
you guys up in New England, you're in 20 minutes, you're in like 6 different states. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, but the Carolinas and everything are really nice, you know. So it all depends where the pockets are when you retire. If you could stay in Long Island, it's great. It's very hard to stay in Long Island for a lot of people. You know, you could sell your house here for 750, 800,000, and move down to the Carolinas, buy something brand new for 3 and put a lot of money away, you know, and have your property taxes. Property taxes here in the house I'm in now are 14.5 a year. There,
oh.
and this is only 1,800 square feet. 3,000 square feet in the Carolinas is only $1,000 a year in property taxes.
Now, for everybody watching, I just want to make this point. We were talking pre-show. He had said I asked him what makes a volunteer fire department volunteer versus non, as far as the differences. He said taxes is a big issue. So he's already at 14.5. Now you had mentioned to me earlier that it would be roughly around 2,000 per home additional. So you're talking about 16K in taxes if you guys were not to be a volunteer, and
Right.
you're not getting any real additional resources out of that.
No, no.
So you
If they
actually moving to
consolidate and they get rid of the volunteers and make everything paid, um, yeah, you're going to be paying for it.
North Carolina or hell even Florida, you moving anywhere else would be an increase in pay.
Oh, of course, absolutely, without a doubt. It's insane, sad to unfortunately think it, but this same house in 2000 was 169. It's now 800,000. Exact same house, nothing's changed.
Man, I'd be hard pressed not to sell that thing. Go somewhere else. Personally, But last question of the night here, and then we'll have you
Sure.
close the show. I love this question. I stole it from James Lipton's Inside the Actors Studio. It's a very introspective question, and I love how people answer it. There's no wrong answer. But when you reach the pearly gates someday in front of your creator, what do you want to hear them say?
You did good, kid.
That's really all you could hope for, right?
That's it. You did good.
So, here in closing, I want to give you the floor. Please tell everybody again how to find you, why to choose you, and what stands you apart from other boutique cigar manufacturers currently out today.
Well, you can find us at kjdcigars.com or thechiefcigar.com. I'm actually updating that a little bit, but you can see our history and everything in there, my bio and stuff. Uh, Online, you can find me at boutiquesmokes.com. On the website, you can see some of the shops that carry our stuff. I got about 8 more to load in recently. Separates me from other boutiques. We're a family. Boutique smokes and boutique cigars. We're that little guy. Some of the bigger guys look down on you. Some of the bigger people help you. What separates me from another boutique cigar? I would never go with that. Um, I I worship all the rest of them the same as I try myself. So uh, it's a tough industry. All you ask is that give us a shot, let us know. Um, Shoot us an email. I could tell you where to get them. Shoot me an Instagram message. I could tell you where to buy it. If we're in your area or not in your area, if we're not in your area, hey, shoot me an email for your local shop. And I'll be more than happy to send some samples to your local shop. Maybe we can be in your local shop. If I can come visit, I can come visit, and make something happen. I love to travel. When I was just at the Chicago Pipe Show at Ronnie and them, that was amazing. I picked up 2 shops that were in Chicago from that show, and you know, I love boutique smoke. So boutique shops, boutique cigars, all those guys. Some can make it faster than others. We're growing at a pace that I'm happy with. And like Nick Perdomo used to say, one brick at a time.
You know what I've loved about this interview is I've given you ample opportunities to pounce. And just in the way you answered the question, as far as what sets you apart, just shows how actual humble you are in this industry, and shows your integrity that you're not willing to dog anything else in the industry. And I really appreciate that. And I know a lot of people do too. That shows that you're letting your product speak for yourself for itself. You're not trying to bolster the product above what it needs to be, but you're letting that product shine. So this has been a lot of fun because I expected, and I gave you some leeway in a few questions to kind of drill home, and you chose the higher path. So everybody watching the show, we have to support the Chief Cigars. This is a great brand. It's steeped in brotherhood, it's steeped in tradition, and it's steeped in the brotherhood of cigars as well. This is a guy that has been raised in a brotherhood from birth, from his father in the firehouse growing up. Now he was a chief. He's all volunteer. Literally puts his life on the line for no money. And you cannot get something better from somebody that gives the best that they can for free to the area in the community that they live in. So anybody watching the show, please go out and try the Chief Cigars. You're gonna be astounded. I was blown away by the Proby. I had the Chief tonight. The first time it was absolutely fantastic. It was a medium body cigar, smoked great. You saw me light it, but it's because I talked too much and it went out. It wasn't had anything to do with construction. So I'm asking everybody, please show some love, show some brotherhood of the community, and go to boutiquesmokes.com, buy boxes of this man's cigars, and let's show him the brotherhood that he has chosen to be part of can support him the way that his Firehouse Brotherhood does. So, in closing here, thanks to everybody that watched tonight. And thanks to all the sponsors that make this show possible: Sagrado Cigars, BAMF Cigars, Micallef Cigars, Kristoff Cigars, Big Sky, Cornell and Diehl, um, Cigar Clowns, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, and the big guy Abe DeBabna over at smokin.com. This has been another live Thursday night show here in the Smokin Studios of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. Thank you all for joining tonight, and until we see you again, smoke what you like, smoke as often as you can, and have a great, great